When you look back at medical science, say, over the last 100 years or so, the progress is really pretty amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Things like anesthesia completely changing surgery, antibiotics saving countless lives. And, well, more recently, we all saw how fast the COVID-19 vaccine was developed. Just put the brakes on a global pandemic almost overnight, it felt like.
Those are really huge achievements. They show what science can achieve when, everything aligns, the knowledge, the resources, the urgency.
Right.
But even with all that success, there's still this one enormous challenge, this public health issue that seems to resist everything we throw at it. And it makes you ask, well, where is the vaccine for HIV?
Exactly. That's the big question. We're talking about a disease, AIDS, that's claimed, what, over 30 million lives around the world?
Easily a devastating number.
And we know the virus, HIV, we've been studying it for decades, but that one tool we always reach for, the preventative vaccine, it's still missing. So our goal today is to really dive into the sources, figure out why. What is it about HIV biologically that's just stumped researchers for so long? And maybe what's the path forward now?
Okay. Well, maybe we should start with the basics. Define the enemy, so to speak. HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. It's a virus that its whole mission is to attack and gradually break down your immune system.
Leaving the body vulnerable.
Exactly. Vulnerable to infections, certain cancers, things a healthy immune system would normally handle easily.
And how does it do that? What's the mechanism that makes it so effective, so damaging?
It's incredibly precise in its targeting. HIV goes specifically after these key immune cells called TCD4 lymphocytes.
Okay, so these are like the critical defenders.
You can think of them as the field generals, maybe, of your immune response.
Yeah.
The virus uses these special proteins on its outer shell to basically lock onto the lymphocyte, merge with its membrane.
And then just injects its own stuff inside.
Pretty much, it dumps its genetic material and various proteins right into the cell.
So that defense cell is instantly compromised. What happens then? Does it die or?
Worse, in a way. It gets hijacked. The cell stops doing its immune job and turns into, well, the source is called a virus factory.
A virus factory.
Yeah. It starts using its own machinery to crank out thousands of new copies of HIV. Those new viruses then burst out and go infect more TCD4 cells. The cycle just repeats and expands.
And if someone doesn't get treatment, this replication just carries on.
Unchecked, yes, often for about 10 years on average. And during that time, the constant destruction of those CD4 cells just grinds down the immune system.
Until it reaches a critical point.
Right, until the number of remaining CD4 cells is so low that the body enters the stage we call AIDS-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome.
And at that point, the immune system is fundamentally broken.
It's severely weakened. It can't protect the body against what we call opportunistic infections. These are germs, bacteria, viruses, fungi that are, all around us. But a healthy immune system keeps them in check.
But for someone with AIDS?
For someone with AIDS, these infections become much more frequent, much more severe, and often, sadly, fatal.
The sources mentioned one specific example.
Tuberculosis TB. It's actually the most common one globally. And it's responsible for about a third of all AIDS-related deaths worldwide. Just staggering.
It really puts the scale of this into perspective. And thinking about the history, the first AIDS cases were identified back in 1981. HIV itself was discovered in 1984. And there was this huge wave of optimism then, wasn't there? The sources mentioned the U.S. Secretary of Health at the time, Margaret Heckler.
Ah, yes. The famous predictions.
She predicted a vaccine would be ready in barely 2 years.
1984. So she was thinking 1986.
And here we are, decades later, still waiting.
Still waiting. It just highlights that finding the virus is one thing, but creating an effective vaccine against this particular virus, well, it's a whole different ballgame. Exponentially harder.
Okay, so the vaccine remains elusive. But before we get into why it's so hard biologically, we absolutely have to talk about the treatments, because there has been incredible success there.
Oh, absolutely. Antiretroviral drugs, ARVs, they've been a genuine game changer, a lifesaver.
How do they work, fundamentally?
Well, they don't cure HIV, and that's important. People need to take them lifelong, but they work by blocking the virus's ability to replicate.
So they stop it from making those copies.
Exactly. They suppress the virus so effectively that the amount of HIV in a person's blood can drop to levels that are actually undetectable by standard tests.
And being undetectable is huge, right? For the individual's health and for stopping transmission.
It's revolutionary. It means the person's immune system can recover, they can live a normal, healthy lifespan, and critically, it means they cannot transmit the virus to sexual partners. undetectable equals untransmittable.
That's incredible progress on the treatment front.
It really is.
Yeah.
But, like you said, it throws the lack of a preventative vaccine into even sharper focus. We have vaccines for polio, for measles. We even eradicated smallpox globally with the vaccine.
The first infectious disease ever wiped out.
Right. But for HIV, that preventative shield just isn't there. And it's definitely not from a lack of trying.
No, the sources make that clear. Countless clinical trials, right? Trying all sorts of different vaccine approaches.
Innumerable trials. Preventative vaccines, trying to stop infection altogether. Therapeutic vaccines, trying to help already infected people control the virus better.
And the outcome?
Sadly, universally disappointing. None of the major vaccine candidates tested so far have succeeded. They didn't prevent infection reliably, and they didn't even significantly lower the amount of virus in people who did get infected during the trials.
Leading to studies being stopped early.
Repeatedly. Large, expensive studies halted because of lack of efficacy. It's been a very difficult road.
Okay, so we have amazing treatments, but prevention through vaccination has failed time and again. This brings us to the core question. Why? What makes HIV so different biologically from something like smallpox or polio? The sources point to two main, really big obstacles.
Yeah, two fundamental challenges.
Let's tackle the first one. Its incredible ability to change. Genetic mutability.
That's the first massive hurdle. HIV replicates incredibly fast. We're talking thousands of new virus copies generated every single day in just one infected person.
Wow.
And with that super fast replication comes errors, mistakes in copying the genetic code, mutations.
Like a photocopier running nonstop and making tiny errors on each copy.
Kind of like that, yeah. But these aren't just tiny errors. Because it happens so often, the virus generates thousands of slightly different versions of itself, different strains, different subtypes.
And this diversity isn't just between different people around the world.
No, that's the really tricky part. This huge genetic diversity exists within a single individual. The virus is constantly changing, evolving, right inside the person's body.
Okay, so how does that mess up vaccine development? A normal vaccine targets a specific, stable part of a virus, right?
Exactly. A classic vaccine teaches your immune system to recognize, say, a specific protein on the surface of the polio virus. But with HIV, that surface is always shifting. An effective HIV vaccine would somehow need to provoke an immune response that could recognize and neutralize not just one version, but potentially thousands of different circulating strains.
That sounds almost impossible, hitting thousands of moving targets at once.
It's an immense challenge, a fundamental challenge.
Okay, so that's reason one, constant mutation. What's the second major biological obstacle? The sources called it a perfect disguise.
Yes, it's almost insidious. HIV is remarkably good at hiding from the immune system, cloaking itself.
How does it do that?
Well, it covers key parts of its outer surface with a dense layer of sugar molecules, glycans, technically.
Okay, a sugar coating. Why is that a good disguise?
Here's the really clever bit, the deception. HIV doesn't make these sugar molecules itself. It actually hijacks proteins and enzymes from our own body, from the host cell, to synthesize this sugary shield.
Wait, so it uses our machinery to build its disguise?
Precisely. And because that sugary coating is made using self-components derived from our own proteins, the immune system looks at it and, well, it doesn't register as foreign.
It sees it as part of the body, not an invader.
Essentially, yes.
Ideally.
It blends in. The source material had a good analogy, like a spy infiltrating a secure building, not by wearing an obvious disguise, but by dressing up as, say, one of the cleaning crew. They just look like they belong there.
Because the immune system is trained not to attack self.
Exactly. That's a fundamental rule. Don't attack your own tissues.
Yeah.
HIV exploits that rule masterfully.
So let me get this straight. We have a virus that changes its appearance constantly, creating thousands of variants. And it covers the parts that don't change as much with a disguise made from our own body's materials, making it invisible.
You've got it.
Yeah.
Mutation and disguise. It's an incredibly formidable opponent for vaccine designers. A double whammy.
No wonder traditional vaccines have failed. So, given these huge biological hurdles, where does the research go now? Have scientists just given up?
Oh, definitely not given up.
Yeah.
But the focus has shifted significantly.
Yeah.
If the traditional approaches aren't working against this virus, maybe we need to look at it differently.
How so?
Well, by studying the exceptions, we know that most people infected with HIV produce antibodies. But those antibodies are largely ineffective because of the mutation in the disguise.
Right.
But there's a very small, very specific group of infected individuals, maybe only about 1% of the total, who naturally develop something extraordinary.
Okay. What do they develop?
Scientists call them broadly neutralizing antibodies, or BNAbs for short. Think of them as, well, super antibodies.
Super antibodies. What makes them so super?
They can do what most antibodies can't.
Yeah.
They are able to recognize and neutralize a really wide variety of different HIV subtypes.
Ah, so they can somehow handle the mutation problem. They see past the variations.
Yes, and they seem to be able to target parts of the virus that are essential for infection. Even if they're partially hidden by that sugar shield, they can somehow get around it or through the disguise, too.
Wow. So these BNAbs overcome both major obstacles.
It appears so, which makes them incredibly interesting, obviously.
So what's the strategy now? Can we just give these BNAbs to people?
That's one major avenue being explored. Administering preformed BNAbs directly, maybe through infusions, as a form of prevention or even treatment. It's called passive immunization.
Okay, like giving someone ready-made protection.
Exactly. But the ultimate goal, the sort of holy grail, would be to figure out how to teach the immune systems of ordinary people to make these powerful BNAbs themselves.
Train our bodies to produce their own super antibodies.
That's the dream. An active vaccine that elicits BNAbs. That would be the true preventative solution we've been searching for.
That sounds incredibly complex. Trying to train the immune system to do something only 1% of people manage naturally. What does that kind of research effort require?
It requires, well, frankly, it requires significant and sustained investment. These are cutting-edge, complex ideas.
Lots of research, lots of lab work, expensive trials.
All of it. Pursuing these new strategies based on BNAbs needs serious financial backing. Scientific research funding is absolutely critical if we're ever going to crack this. Without that investment, these promising new paths might just remain interesting ideas on paper.
And the vaccine stays out of reach.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the main points here. The reason we still don't have an HIV vaccine after all this time isn't because scientists haven't tried hard enough.
Not at all. Decades of intense effort.
It's because HIV presents these unique biological challenges. Firstly, its incredibly rapid mutation rate, creating thousands of strains even within one person.
Making it a constantly moving target.
And secondly, its ability to disguise itself using sugar molecules made by our own body's machinery.
Rendering it effectively invisible to standard immune responses.
But there's hope in these broadly neutralizing antibodies, the BNAbs, found in a small percentage of infected people.
Yes. Understanding and harnessing those BNAbs is really the main focus now. Either giving them directly or, ideally, finding a vaccine that can teach our bodies to make them.
But while all that crucial research continues and we hope it gets the funding it needs, we have to remember the prevention tools we do have now.
Absolutely essential. We can't wait for a future vaccine. Prevention today is key. That means consistent condom use, definitely.
And knowing your status, getting tested?
Yes, and using reliable information sources, support portals, contacting health centers for guidance, testing, and access to treatments like ARVs and prevention tools like PAP. These things save lives right now.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening to mull over. If only about 1% of people infected with HIV naturally make these super antibodies, these BNAbs that might hold the key, what does that actually tell us?
Interesting question.
What does it suggest about the hidden potential, maybe the untapped power that might be lurking within the standard human immune system? If we could figure out how to unlock that ability in everyone, what other diseases, maybe ones we currently think of as intractable, could we potentially solve? Not necessarily by inventing brand new drugs, but by learning how to activate the incredible defenses we might already possess, just waiting for the right trigger.
It makes you wonder what else our immune systems might be capable of, doesn't it? If we could just find the right way to ask them.